Hello, everyone. Welcome to the industrial session titled Lessons Learned from COVID-19 and Future Directions for Sustainable Event Tourism. Dr. Mages and I are co-chairs of this session. Dr. Mageswari Kunasegaran is a senior lecturer at University Putra, Malaysia. And I'm Seung-Yoon Ri, professor at Hongik University Business School in Seoul, Korea. So today we have three presenters, Professor David Hind, Mr. Osman Kawaza, and Mr. Harry Pradinata. This session addresses how events and tourism industry has adapted to the unprecedented changes triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic. And this session offers new insights into what needs to be done to revive the events tourism industry post-pandemic. Let's move on to our first presenter, Professor David Hind. Professor David Hind is president of the Asia Pacific Institute for Events Management and holds visiting professorship positions at Chonghua University, Taiwan, UCSI University, Sarawak, Malaysia, and University Technology Mara, Malaysia. He has authored textbooks on events management, employability skills development, and sustainable tourism management. Currently, he is head of partnerships in the School of Business and Law, Buckinghamshire New University, UK. Please join me in welcoming Professor Hind, who will talk about reconnecting events and looking ahead to post-pandemic.
Thank you so much for that very kind introduction, and it's my pleasure to be one of the speakers at today's event as part of the conference. The title for my presentation is Reconnecting Events and Looking Ahead to Post-Pandemic. I'm sorry I can't be with you in person today, so I'm speaking with you from my home city, which is Leeds, in the United Kingdom, and it's right in the heart of the United Kingdom. So that's where I'm speaking with you from today. I'm going to start off my presentation with a quotation from Arundhati Roy, who is an Indian author. And right at the pandemic, in April 2020, he said, historically, pandemics have forced humans to break with the past and imagine their world anew. This one is no different. It is a portal, a gateway between one world and the next. And that's a very important quotation because it does give us an indication of how our world has changed as a result of the pandemic. But it's true to say now that we're on the road to recovery. And the road to recovery, hopefully, will be straight, and we shall be following it right to the end when we are back in a normal situation that we enjoyed in 2019, but with some changes and some new developments. And at the moment, in 2022, and probably into 2023, we are starting to receive and see the return of the in-person event industry. The pace at which the industry recovers will be subject to each country's protocols for the vaccination program and controls imposed by national and regional governments. We are on the road to recovery, but that recovery process is going to be dependent upon the country in which we live and perhaps the region or the province where the event is taking place. Here in the United Kingdom, we believe that we will be living with coronavirus forever. It will be one of the other viruses that we encounter each year. And in order to live with coronavirus, the events industry needs to put in place mitigations that will reduce the severity of the spread of the virus at events that we attend. So we will always have protocols in place for the virus, and we will learn to live with those protocols in the years ahead. But will we have to think differently about designing and hosting professional events? And my view is that yes, to some extent, we will have to think differently about designing and hosting professional events. And that is because over the last 2 years, we've seen the events industry now being modified as a result of us having to use digital mobile technology to stage events and to keep in touch with each other. And to support the development of digital technology in the events industry, I think we have a new events industry technology ecosystem. We have technology experts in many different countries who are developing the ways in which we use our digital devices. We have our own event industry technologists who work with the international technology experts to develop applications for the events industry. And our creative event planners harness and utilize event technology applications for the events that we are staging, both virtually and in person. And we now see a new breed of employee within the events industry, and I've called them creative event technology designers. So the pandemic has really introduced to us a new way of staging events, and that is using digital technology. We're all now much more comfortable at using technology for online webinars. And over the last 2 years, the skills and expertise of event planners has increased dramatically at staging online webinars. We've also seen the development of virtual exhibitions over the last 2 years during the pandemic. And we can attend a virtual exhibition, visit the different exhibitors, book an appointment to speak with a representative of the company, and have a conversation with them. And in the future, I think that we will see the growth of importance of hybrid events, an event where we have an audience in person, and we also have an international audience attending that event using digital technology. So those are just some examples of the ways in which the events industry has evolved during the pandemic. And there are many benefits of virtual events that are staged using digital technology. During the pandemic, we had no alternative. We couldn't meet in person, so we engaged with each other using digital technology. Virtual events also enable us to reach a large international audience. In some situations, the virtual event is less risky. There are lower costs. We don't have to book a venue. We don't have to provide hospitality because we can all bring our own refreshments to the virtual event. They are more sustainable because we don't have to travel. Today, I'm speaking with you from the United Kingdom. I would really love to be in Kuching, but at the moment, travel restrictions don't permit me to do that. So I can still join you using virtual technology. It's very sustainable. And I've talked about the virtual event ecosystem. And for our Generation Zers, this is the way that they are familiar and accustomed to communicating using virtual technology. But there will always be a demand for live in-person events because in-person events are points of connection. When I speak to an audience in a lecture theatre, I can see how the audience is responding to my speech. I can see if they are paying attention. I can ask questions and I can interconnect with the people who are attending. And that's not quite so possible in a virtual situation where I'm speaking to a large audience in many different countries and I'm not able to see how they are responding to my speech. In-person events, live events, are also fantastic for preserving and conserving traditions. And that is also not quite possible in the same way using a virtual event. And for the business events sector, exhibitions, we can hold them virtually, but there's no substitute for going to an in-person exhibition, meeting with the fellow delegates and the exhibitioners in person, having a conversation, learning about products and services, and maybe closing a sale. So the in-person exhibitions industry will continue to thrive because it's a great way for doing business. So I'm going to close my presentation now with another quotation. And this one is from Charles Darwin, who 200 years ago said, "It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change." And I think that quotation is as true today in 2022 as it was when Charles Darwin first wrote it 200 years ago. And I think the pandemic is a portal from one world to the next, but I also think that it's those organizations and those people who are most adaptable to change that will have prospered and grown over the last 2 years. So thank you for listening to me in my presentation. Best wishes to you for the rest of the conference, and I look forward to participating in the Q&A session discussion in a few minutes' time.
Thank you very much, Professor Hind, for sharing important insights into how the events industry may transform post-pandemic.
Now, let's move on our second speaker, second presenter, Mr. Osman Khawaja. Let me introduce Mr. Osman Khawaja. He is the Executive Director of the non-profit art school Pranada Sapa in Cambodia and a board of a member of Performing Social Enterprise. And he has a master's in hospitality management. And he has worked in the private hospitality and tourism sector for over 10 years prior to the moving to the non-profit sector, where he has been in leadership roles for 10 years. Let's join me to welcoming Mr. Khawaja to talk about, speak on the event tourism.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Dr. Magis. I'm really happy to be here, dialing in all the way from Cambodia, well, not as far as where Professor Hind is calling in from, but closer to you in Indonesia. Again, I'm not able to be there in person with you, but happy to be here online. I would like to introduce first the organization that I'm with to put things into context and where how that relates to the topic that we are talking about today. So to do that, we'll start with a little video. So FAR based in Battambang, that's where the school is. And we have today serving over 800 students a year through our various art and social programs. In 2003, we set up public shows. It put our circus on through a big top here for visiting tourists to Battambang. Pre-COVID, we had around 15,000 tourists per year visiting our campus for shows. And in 2013, we established our social enterprise in Siem Reap to operate daily shows for the tourists, providing sustainable jobs to our graduates. And pre-COVID, they were entertaining over 110,000 visitors per year in the big top there. So FAR is a big player in the tourism sector in Siem Reap and in Battambang. In Battambang, it's a small town, but it is one of the reasons many tourists do visit this space, coming in, especially European tourists from France, many of them who know the organization due to its link with the French founder. So we are quite a draw for a big number of tourists to the city. And in Siem Reap, it has become the #1 entertainment for tourists. The relationship between the school and the social enterprise, this chart gives you a little overview. The school owns 75% of the social enterprise that runs even a creative studio, circus, boutique, handicraft, all serving the tourism industry. So when the pandemic hit, our campus and our big tops in Battambang, Siem Reap emptied out because the borders were closed. And we were 100% reliant on tourism. From one day to the next, the school went from being 60% self-financed from our performances here in the big top as well as in Siem Reap to 0%. And Siem Reap, that saw where about 5 million tourists a year, was like a ghost town. So it was a huge adjustment for everyone to make and adapt to and find new ways to survive. The lessons that we had learned are several. Some are organization-based, some are more larger in scope. Number one, people matter. We as a social enterprise, putting people first, and even as an NGO and association, that people are very important for us. Most of our teachers that are with us were our students. They were taken care of by the orphanage after the war, by the association, and now are working with us as well. And all our artists performing in Siem Reap are from the school as well. So we ensure to keep people employed, keep them engaged. Even though we all agreed to take pay cuts, we involve them in decisions about our survival, how we want to move forward, what sacrifices we'd like to make. But at the end, even those that went on temporary contract suspensions stayed engaged, and they came back once we have reopened. So people were very important to us in this whole process. And then cash matters, realized how important it is to have reserves. We were lucky that we did have some. We managed to survive 2 most difficult years. Though we are on a very, very tight budget, we have managed the most difficult parts and are moving forward towards recovery. Staying relevant matters. Even during this time, it was important for us to keep our followers engaged, to keep all the visitors who had been with us, who had signed up with us. There were almost 30,000 people on our mailing list, that to keep them engaged with what we are doing, how we are reinventing ourselves, what our students are up to, what our graduate performers are up to. And many of them expressing, many of our visitors who have been with us, expressing that they are looking forward to returning again once the borders open. So that engagement has really helped us with reopening, and many of our fans have come back to see the shows. Creativity matters. We had to reinvent. We had to find new ways of expressing ourselves. We had to move things online and readapt shows and performances. We had to learn how to do things different, and also present things more creatively and find creative solutions to our financial problems. Digital content matters. With more people online, content being consumed from the screens at home became very big, and of course it will continue, and it's something that we have also shifted towards, both from the school side as well as the social enterprise, to try and put more of our content online for consumption. It is something very difficult for us because our performances shows are best been experienced in person, but we need to adapt and be able to put those on in creative ways for digital consumption as well. The online connectivity matters. We were learned that we are able to reach far more people through certain hybrid events, online events, than we would have been for in-person events. So that connectivity and having the resources around to be able to connect were also important for us to build on. I will give an example of what we did here. FAR has always been involved in a lot of bringing a lot of festivals to town, both to Siem Reap and Battambang, especially urban art festivals and international circus festivals. Of course, with the pandemic, those physical events were not able to hold for 2 years with the engagement of the local city authorities and other organizations. But we did decide we needed to do something to, again, keep our audience engaged, to raise funds for the school, to keep our artists engaged. So we looked into creative ways, and we decided to grab the world's attention by creating an event for the longest ever circus marathon and to aim for Cambodia's 10th world record. It was a big feat, and we thought it would be a bit simple, but when the Guinness requirements came through, they were quite challenging for us to put together. But that bigger challenge motivated everyone to come together. Our alumni from our social enterprise, our students, our fans, everyone came together to make this happen. Did we achieve it? Yes, we did. We did a 24-hour, 10-minute, 30 seconds non-stop circus show. It's still actually under review with Guinness. Hopefully we will hear soon from them. But in our eyes, we did achieve that. It was held as a hybrid event with a physical audience as well as a global virtual audience. We were able to reach over 500,000 people viewing the video online, which we would have never been able to do if it was just a physical event. That, of course, gave us really good marketing and publicity reach as well. And as a fundraising event, we were able to raise $150,000 when in our annual physical galas that we would have, fundraising galas, we would raise more around 30,000. So we were able to raise far more money through the bigger global audience that we were engaging online. So it was our creative solution to staying relevant, engaging our people for a purpose, raising funds to keep the organization going, making sure that the cash flow is there to keep everyone supported, as well as to keep on creating performances and shows for when tourists do return. And now that tourists are returning, we have opened up our shows again, just recently here at the school, but in Siem Reap already since end of last year, with 3 shows a week. They will hopefully be back to hosting a daily 300 guests as they were doing pre-COVID, but that will still, I will think, take another year to reach that stage. But meanwhile, we have been expanding our online productions through our creative studio. They have been busier than ever because of the rapid online consumption of content. And we hope that we will be able to bring that also in more creative ways with our stage performances. So that's where I'd like to conclude with that example from our side as an organization on the ground that is very much dependent on tourism and doing events for the community, arts-based events, and how we manage through and ways we found to move forward, which I think will continue to be relevant for us. Thank you very much, and I look forward to answering any questions you will have in the Q&A session.
Okay, thank you for sharing insightful experience about social enterprise from Cambodia. It was amazing to hear how a hard school performing from zero to something. Thank you. Okay, now let us welcome our third speaker, Mr. Harry Parinita. Let me introduce Mr. Harry. Mr. Harry is a product manager from Anawata Tour and Travel Agency, which has experience of 15 years in handling outbound luxury groups and incentive tour to various destinations at 5 contingents. Let's join with me to welcome Mr. Harry.
Thank you, Dr. Mages, for the introduction. Greeting, ladies and gentlemen. So let us go back to the January 2020. I remember when the first time COVID-19 announced to the world, everybody in my office thinking that it will be a short, small-scale pandemic. How wrong we are back there. In February 2020, I still leading a group tour to Finland. I went to the Helsinki and Rovaniemi to watching auroras. And then the news about COVID is starting to get more and more countries got infected, more people got sick, and we're starting to believe that this might go bad. And not only in China, some country in Europe like Italy, and also a few countries in Asia like South Korea starting to get more people infected back there. We're starting to believe business might be get problem. But we still have a hope that it might be on a short scale business. It will affect it only for a certain month. Maybe come December, everybody will be well again. And come March 2020, most of the country went to the lockdown. In my office, we have to cancel about 50 groups departing to outbound tour destination to Europe, to USA, Australia, South Korea, Japan, China. And then I realized something that our business, tourism business, is a very, very fragile business. Let's say 2019 at Hong Kong, the protests about the demonstration in Hong Kong happening, nobody want to go to Hong Kong. When a volcano erupted at Bali, all flights are canceled. Nobody come to Bali for having a holiday. Even during hard time like this, Russia and a war broke down between Russia and Ukraine, we have a zero interest from the traveler who want to visit Russia. Not only affecting Russia and Ukraine, even some country near, but not actually there, are outside the war. Let's say like Hungary, Eastern Europe country like Czech Republic, Polandia, nobody want to go there. And fast forward 2 years later, after everybody have their story, I believe, we all have people who are already not with us anymore. Some of our people, our friends, some of our, even our family maybe leaving us, pass away. We're starting to see the end of the dark tunnel. And they're already getting back to business again. Some of the country are already reopening the borders. And along came with it, we believe that it's not the end of the problem, but we have to live with COVID as one of our daily life now. And then after the COVID, countries start to reopen. We have another new story, new chapter that we have to deal with. It comes with the challenges and the opportunities, right? Some of the challenges are the flight option now become scarce, even come with the expensive price. Normally we take a few $100s to go to, let's say, to near destination. Now flight ticket is very, very expensive because the airline also took a very hard hit. Now they have to come back again. They have to sell it more again. And also come with the uncertainty in particular region during the COVID. Some of the countries that still happen to do the quarantines, and let's say like China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. If we want to come there, we still need to do like a 7 days quarantine in hotel. Some of the every country come with their apps that you have to download before visiting. Like Indonesia have a Peduli Lindungi, Malaysia have a My Sejahtera, Singapore have their Trace Together, South Korea have the Q code. Everybody come with the with the apps that you need to download. Young people have no problem, but old people who are not very influenced with technology are starting to get a problem how to use this one. And there is also the regulation. Regulation come and change almost every few months. Let's say like Japan now doing the quarantine. Some of the country went to do the blue list. You don't need to do quarantine, but we never know until when they have to review it again. Maybe your country got in the orange and you have a flight ticket come there, you have to do the quarantine again. What happened if I go to South Korea and then if I got a positive test when I arrive in the Incheon airport, I have to do the quarantine for 7 days. My traveling ticket already cannot be used anymore and have to pay for the quarantine hotel. It got very expensive. I want to come today for holiday, but instead of a holiday, I have a 7 days free hotel. Not free, but you have to pay for it. And for some country, let's say Indonesia, before now, a few months ago, we still have to do the quarantine when we go outside, returning back to our country. Some of the countries still have to do the quarantine in the selected hotel. To top all of that, we now have a longer visa process. We have a problem in Europe when we have to do the visa. Normally it takes 2 or 3 weeks. Now it become month. Some of the application come into the 2 months. And also the problem with the check-in in Europe, there is not enough manpower to do the handle check-in, to take care of our luggage. That's the thing that I believe we have to manage little by little. And I believe in the near future, it will be more easier. It will be more adaptable for traveling, for business who doing the tourism. But not only the bad side, we also come with the opportunities. We believe now after 2 years lockdown, so in some countries, now everybody can go anywhere. A lot of countries reopen again. I think only like China and nearby country like Taiwan and Hong Kong still do quarantine and close their border. Now everybody is reopening again. Indonesia open, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, South Korea, even Australia doing the lockdown now reopen for the tourists. Not to mention like Europe, they already open. You can take out your mask on the public area. And the demand also rises. A lot of people want to come. A lot of people want to do the holiday. It's like a chicken get out from the barn. Everybody want to go everywhere, right? And along come that also the new destination also become a new prima donna, become a new highlight. For Indonesian, we have Indonesian people tend to go outside for holiday. They went to the Singapore or Malaysia, also went to the like South Korea because they have a big attraction to the K-pop, to the opa on the South Korea. But during COVID, they cannot go, so they decide to go to domestic market. Bali become a new highlight. Along come with the Labuan Bajo and Raja Ampat. So travel, actually tourism and travel agent, which handle the domestic area, also get quite a big opportunity to handle. After COVID, we believe that the normal group tour, it will be more customized. More people prefer to traveling by their family alone, and they don't want to share with the other people. That means they're willing to pay more. Let's say 8 people, 10 people, less than 10 people, family group going to tourism place. They don't want to do the normal tour like usual. They don't want to share the bus with the people they don't know, so they're willing to pay more. And we starting to have this kind of request for Christmas and New Year period on this year. So we believe that one of the key to actually push the sales of the tour and the traveling after COVID is the tourism board. We all can say that airline, hotel, the travel agent, the restaurant, the tourism object, all of them are the internal factor to send people come. But tourism board has been the most trusted non-profit organization, which they believe the information is accurate. They will tell you what to do when you come to that country, namely like KTO, Korea Tourism Organization, or Singapore Tourism Board that I mentioned some in here, like JNTO and other people. This is the tourism board that client believe the information and correct. And the second thing that we need the tourism board to act more for us is because they have a big budget they have to spend to send more people coming back to their country. They have a target. They have to send people come to the Korea if you want to go to, if you work in KTO. If you work in the Japan National Tourism Organization, you have to send more people come back to Japan. They come with the big budget and they can do a lot of marketing. Some of them we're doing them during the pandemic. How to keep the interest alive is we're doing the virtual tour. We work with some of the tourism board. Some of them is the Hong Kong Tourism Board. We're doing the what happened in Hong Kong right now, and also working with the Tourism Australia. Some of them also work with the other country. We're sending a virtual tour because during lockdown you cannot go anywhere, but you can still watch what actually happened there. The guide will show you the life there during COVID, when is the predicted time it will open. This is to keep the interest of the traveler and the update regarding the tourism destination. They want to keep it in your mind. When it's open, you will come back to their place again. Some of other thing that tourism board can do is they can do the fam trip. They can invite the travel agent come to their respective country, and because travel agent is the frontliner to selling the tours, and they will encourage people to come to the places. They can also do the fam trip for the media, for the online media or offline media, because when it comes to the news, more people read about your country is open again. It will bring interest to come and visit again. Some of the picture is like during the pandemic 2021, I was invited by the Korea Tourism Board during the pandemic to come to South Korea. This is very interesting because during the pandemic, we watch a lot of, how do you say, the Korean drama. And then they make a program that visited to the shooting place of the, one of them is the Vincenzo. It become very big hit, and everybody watching this, and they come, oh, it's still open now, we can come visit again. And also they put a picture like some of the our president, Mr. Joko Widodo, when they are coming to the South Korea, visiting the countries. And also they can bring the update about the regulation about there. For Muslim countries, very important to have a Muslim-friendly restaurant. That people think that maybe if you come to South Korea, it's hard to find a halal food, but actually not. It's a lot of Muslim-friendly restaurant. We can come there. Even some of the places like in Nami Island, we can find a musola. We can find a prayer place to do the prayer. And then the last thing I believe that some of the tourism board can do is for people, traveler from require visa to visit your country, they can make a easier visa process. I remember that 2015, there is a pandemic happened in South Korea, the MERS, yeah, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome. It happened in South Korea. In 2015, it became very, very hard to visit South Korea during the summer because we have to cancel almost 20 groups in the summer visiting to South Korea. And after that, the tourism board is very smart. The Korean tourism board, they give us the free visa for applicants who actually want to visit South Korea in the winter. The visa is still proceed like usual. You still need to handle your document. You still need to provide all the thing, the passport, the photo, and everything. But the visa is waived. So a lot of people think this is a smart move because I can come there without to paying the visa. And back in there, they're also doing a cheaper visa process for incentive group or for a company group. Let's say you handle a client from one company, they want to visit the South Korea, they will give you an easier visa and make it a faster process. Normally, you took 2 weeks to handle the visa. Now it's only become 3 days and 4 days. Now they're starting to do it again. That's why we're starting to selling the Korea tour now easier. And I believe this COVID-19 is not the first pandemic we got, but it also will not be the last. Yeah, we already experiencing things like this in 2003. Maybe if you remember, Hong Kong and some of the country in Asia got hit by a SARS outbreak, and also come with the swine flu, and also come with the avian flu. Now during COVID, we have our new problem might be coming, the monkeypox. But with all working together, we believe we can stand together and pass through this. And I believe tourism will be come back to the usual, and it will be get more people to traveling after COVID. That will be all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to me. I give it back to you, Dr. Mages. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Harry, for sharing the survival and also new trend of a global tourist as well as a travel agent after COVID-19 pandemic. Now, let me welcome chair section, Dr. Seong, to conclude the section.
Okay. Today's presentations stimulated further discussion on how events and tourism industry may transform to adapt to changes brought by COVID-19. And today's presentations also shared ideas on ways to revive and promote sustainable events tourism post-COVID-19. Thank you, Professor Hind, Mr. Kawaja, and Mr. Pradinatha for sharing your valuable insights.
Okay, now let's come to the section where we're going to share important information about our conference. Okay, thank you for joining this section. There are a few announcements to be made here. This section recording will be made available in our website, www.responsibleborneo.com. You could able to copy and paste, and you can visit. Okay, second, e-certificate of attendance will be issued to the delegates who complete a post-conference survey. Please find the survey at www.responsibleborneo.com at our website at ICRTH 2022, and the survey will be closed after 1 week. For more information about ICRTH 2022 and other conference section, please visit our website. For any inquiries about ICRTH 2022, please feel free to contact us via ICRTH 2022 at our responsibleborneo.com.